I had just come to get an ordinary coffee that day. Starbucks' familiar green logo drew me inside without any suspicion in my mind. It was approaching 7 in the evening, and I wanted to get a caramel macchiato to shake off the day's fatigue. The moment I walked through the door, I felt everything was different, but at first I couldn't understand why. The strange silence hanging in the air made my hair stand on end. The place that was normally crowded at these hours was almost empty today. Only a few people were sitting in the corners, and none of them were looking at their phones or laptops. They were just sitting there, frozen. When I got to the counter, the barista looked at me so strangely. Her smile seemed artificial, as if she was wearing a mask. "The usual?" she asked. But I was coming here for the first time. I had never seen this Starbucks before. "No, I started, but she cut me off. "I know what you want," she said, and started preparing my coffee. That's when I saw him, the man sitting at the corner table, maybe in his 40s, an ordinary person, jeans, gray sweatshirt, but his eyes, those eyes were following me as if he had been waiting for me for years. My heartbeat quickened, and I began to have difficulty breathing. A voice inside me was screaming, "Get out of here! Get out right now!" But my feet had taken root, it seemed. I couldn't move. The barista handed me my coffee, and I noticed there was a name written on the cup. But it wasn't my name. It was someone else's name, someone I didn't know. "This isn't mine," I said, but the barista just smiled with that artificial smile and said, "Yes, it is." My hands, trembling, reached for the cup, and that's when it came to my mind. Those horrific events I had read about in newspapers, those terrible stories that went viral on social media. The Menendez Brothers' cold stares, how they looked eating a normal family dinner before killing their family. The last photos of people who disappeared on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Those photos taken while laughing on the beach, looking happy. How Larry Nassar appeared to be treating gymnastics while abusing for years. That ordinary minivan that was the last thing Toy Box Killer's victims saw. It all came together in my mind at once because that man poured something into his own cup from a small bottle, quickly, skillfully, and then he stood up, started moving toward me. My legs were trembling, but I couldn't run, as if the ground was pulling me down. The people around me seemed frozen. Those few people were still sitting in the same position. None of them were moving. No one noticed what was happening. Even the barista turned her back and started washing dishes, as if normal, as if everything was normal. But I knew this wasn't normal. Nothing was normal. I tried to reach for my phone, but that man was too close now. I could smell him, old leather and a slight chemical smell, a nauseating smell. When he came next to me, he whispered, "I know you," he said, and his voice sounded so familiar, as if he had come out of my dreams. But which dream? I couldn't remember. "From where?" I asked, my voice barely coming out. "It doesn't matter from where," he said. "What matters is where we're going." And at that moment, I understood that in this ordinary place, in this coffee shop that everyone visits every day, that we stop by on our way to work in the mornings, meet with our friends, work for hours at laptops, there was a trap set for me. But since when? By whom? Why? I had no idea. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message came. I tried to look at the screen, but that man had grabbed my arm now. His grip was tight. It hurt. "You must come with me," he said, and there was such cold certainty in his voice that resistance seemed meaningless to me. But I still tried. "No, I don't know you. Let me go," I said, and tried to raise my voice, but the words knotted in my throat. At that moment, I noticed something. The hands of the clock on the wall were turning in the opposite direction. Time was going backwards. How could this be possible? Was I losing my mind? "You're starting to go crazy, aren't you?" said the man, as if reading my thoughts. "It all starts like this. First, they notice the small things, then everything falls apart." As we walked toward the door, my legs could barely carry me. I dropped my cup and coffee spread on the floor.
but there was no sound at all, as if I was watching a silent film. I was moving my lips, but I couldn't speak anymore. The man was dragging me, and I had given up resisting because my body no longer belonged to me, it seemed. I was like a puppet. One last time I looked back. People were still sitting there. Not one of them had moved. The barista was still washing dishes, making the same movement over and over, robotically. They were continuing their lives as if unaware of anything, but I was no longer one of them. I had passed into another dimension, it seemed. I had broken away from reality. We approached the door, and when I looked outside, the view I saw froze me. The street was empty, completely empty. No cars, no people, just fog. Thick fog had covered everything. "Welcome," said the man. "Welcome to the real world." And he opened the door, and when I stepped outside, the cold enveloped me, a cold that penetrated to my bones. I heard the door close behind me, but when I turned around, the Starbucks was no longer there. The buildings were gone. There was only fog and that man. Now you understand, don't you, why I chose you. I had become part of those stories I read about in newspapers. I had become a victim, and no one had even seen. No one would look for me because my existence had been erased, it seemed. From memories, from records, from everything. I had become just a shadow in this fog. And worst of all was just beginning. The man was taking me toward a vehicle, an ordinary minivan, the family kind, just like the one Toy Box Killer used. When he opened the door, what I saw inside made my stomach turn. Chains, tools, and on the wall photographs, many photographs, photographs of people, and in all their eyes was the same fear, the fear I was feeling right now. "You're not the last one, but you are the most special, because you will understand. You will see the truth." And he pushed me inside. The door closed. Darkness fell upon me, and my last thought was this: I wonder if tomorrow someone walks into Starbucks to get a coffee, will they see the same man in the same corner, and will they enter this nightmare I'm experiencing? Or was this only happening to me? Was this a special hell? Questions whose answers I would never learn were spinning in my head because I couldn't speak anymore, couldn't scream. I was just standing there in the darkness, waiting, not even knowing what I was waiting for.